Hello and welcome to the 50-cent tour of Tuesday, April 30th, 2013. Please find a seat on the Liberty Bus and we will begin our tour of the day. What news events seem to be most significant today? U.S. News and World Report, GAO now investigating DHS ammo purchases. So all the, quote, conspiracy theories, end quote, about 2 billion rounds of ammo have raised some serious concern in the mainstream media and among real people in Washington. The GAO is the General Accounting Office, and that's a congressional office that monitors federal purchases. So I think that truth is making a little bit of progress. I'm not continuing to focus a lot on this. There's a lot out there. I guess in my own mind I've already resolved, yeah, these guys were set up. The whole thing may have been staged, at least part of it was staged. And it was intended to manipulate the American people, make us afraid, make us more dependent on the government for safety. So I've resolved that in my mind. So I'm not continuing to focus on it, really. I'm not giving a lot of my own thought time to it. However, there is continuing evidence coming out. If you're not convinced, or you are talking to family members, friends who aren't convinced, the evidence continues to come out. It just gets worse the deeper we go. Falsely identified Boston bomber found dead in river. And this was evidently the first patsy. So as I said, I'm not focusing on this a lot, but this story does continue to unfold. And if you're interested, there certainly is a lot out there for you to look for. I did find this significant: HSEEP actor information sheet and waiver form. This doesn't prove anything conclusively, just lets you have an idea what people are asked to be prepared for when they participate in some kind of a drill. In case you didn't know, as I didn't, HSEEP is Homeland Security Emergency Exercise Evaluation Program. So, in other words, a FEMA drill. People who have participated in these, sometimes things have not worked out so well for them. So if you're ever invited or think that it might be fun, you might want to think again. Update by Kerry Cassidy from Washington, D.C. Citizen Hearing. This is not a congressional hearing. This is, about disclosure. Again, not something I'm really excited about or give a whole lot of thought or time to, but it's significant enough that I think that I should at least mention it in case you are interested. They evidently have a few past Congress people who are the former members of Congress stepping up in a big way to take on the witness testimony and branch out into subjects that will have the intel and greater secret government, at the very least, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. So to me, this is not at the center of what's going on. Sometimes I wonder if it's a distraction. It may be real. As I said, worth at least knowing about. Presenting the housing bubble 2.0. Evidently, home prices are on the rise again. This is median price for Los Angeles, California, and Californians have been known to go crazy over real estate. I have some friends who they're not flippers. They just happen to purchase a house and happen to have occasion to move about a year later. and made, I don't know, I think $80,000 out of the transaction. But it can't be depended upon. So, hence the word bubble. You never know when it's going to pop. Analysis finds Monsanto's GM corn nutritionally dead and highly toxic. No surprise there, right? Just more information for those who might not be very aware of things. Top 3 most dangerous pain medications. Pain medications and the adverse drug reactions to them are the 4th leading cause of death in the U.S. And our naturopathic friend, Dr. Noah, has stated often that when you add up all medications, all surgeries, all medical errors, it's really medical, quote, health, end quote, care. I should leave the care part in the quotation marks as well, is the #1 cause of death in the U.S. So, again, very important to be careful of these opiate pain medications, NSAIDs, COX-2 inhibitors. Weigh your options carefully. There are alternatives. You can do meditation. There are a lot of alternatives to these kind of pain meds. And something else rather interesting pertaining to healthcare. Doctors walk out of National Obamacare implementation meeting. The quality of care is very likely to go down for many, many reasons. One of them being that the doctors who have been doctors for some time, who anticipated making a good living at being a doctor, and I'm not advocating that. A lot of them are, basically drug pushers for pharma, but at least they've had training and they have some frame of reference for dealing with sick people, although I'm not one to really submit myself to that, as long as I have a choice. But it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. So again, if you have the inclination, if you're willing to do a little bit of searching, you can find a lot of natural cures that you can apply yourself, and I should use the word natural therapies. Consider the alternatives. That's certainly what we are doing. Here is one alternative. Lower your blood pressure naturally with tomatoes and CoQ10. Some of the websites like Natural News, Mercola, DrU.info, there's just a tremendous amount of information available online about how you can be healthy naturally and avoid some of the hazards of the toxic drugs and dangerous procedures and expensive pharmaceuticals. And this is the good news today. I know the tomato blood pressure issue is also good news, and the doctor's walking out. This might not sound like good news, but really, if you employ this principle in both your public life and your private life, it can help you avoid a lot of pain, disillusionment, disappointment. How to instantly tell who's evil versus good. The philosophy of control versus empowerment. And this article is written primarily from the point of view of a public life. These examples of control versus empowerment, most of them have to do with public life, politics, so on and so forth. But if you can take a little time in your, when you're at the beginning part of relationships, even personally, and try to determine this, who is trying to empower me and who is trying to control me. So let's start with the empowerment side. This point represents people who primarily seek to empower you with knowledge, skills, wisdom, and tools. And on the far left side, which also represents the political left in America today, although the empowerment doesn't represent the political right, so don't be confused there. We have control. This point represents people who primarily seek to control you, to extract money from you, to limit your freedoms, to demand your obedience, and to use the threat of force to command your compliance. It's also people who manipulate you, people who are dishonest with you. This philosophy dishonors the individual and downplays free will and individual liberty. Control is inherently evil because it seeks to diminish the power of a large number of people in order to accumulate power into the hands of a few people. And, on a personal level, a lot of times people who try to control us are just themselves insecure and feel powerless, and they're just looking for a way to bolster their own low self-esteem. But ultimately, you can have compassion for the reasons why someone might try to control you. But it's on you to determine that you want to be free and to set boundaries and not allow people to control you. That is how she who will walk in the dark tries to walk, sometimes in the dark. Sometimes when you don't want to be controlled, you find yourself alone. Thank you for participating in this tour of the day. The dawn is coming. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, not be controlled through fear, manipulation, intimidation, whatever is thrown at you. Hoping that you will insist on liberty, and take care.